Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is the 397th Rome Total War Brotherhood game that I've put onto YouTube. Just before I introduce the teams, I've got a small announcement to make, and that is just to say, as a lot of you know, Rome Total War is 15 years old in September of this year, which is pretty old for a computer game. And that's why I'm amazed and really pleased to tell you that this Brotherhood YouTube RTW battle channel has just received over 70,000 total views. It's actually 70,152 views. I think for such an old computer game to get that many views, I think is pretty good there. And I just hope all of you still enjoy the battles as much as you ever did, watching them. We always try and put the best ones on for you. Okay, this battle, as you can see, is fought on my favourite map, I think the Germanic Forest map, with the big open plains, as we've talked about before, where you can fight out in the open if you want, or if you want to bring barbarian troops for the woods bonus there. This map's got a bit of everything for you, I think. Okay, our first teammate is an RV clanman called Gorgira, or I think it's Constantine the Great. A lot of you might know him, but he's actually RV Gorgira here. As you can see, he's bought the Greek cities faction. Okay, I think he's got 2, 3, 8, 12. I think he's got 15 Spartan units, and I think he's got 5 Cretan, long-range Cretan archers there. Okay, so 15 Spartans and 5 Cretan archers. Okay, our next teammate is Brotherhood member Bark, who has bought the Seleucid faction. Okay, I think he's got he's got 10 infantry, and then usually he's got the Silver Shield Legionnaires, and he's got 4 archers there. Let's have a look at the upgrades on his Legionnaires. Okay, he's just got 6 upgrades, so he's got Gold Shield, Gold Attack. If you look at them, they look a little bit like urban cohorts. They can throw pilers, but their specifications are nowhere near as good as urban cohorts. So you say he got 10 Silver Shield units, 4 archers there. As he's only got Gold Shield, Gold Attack on his Legionnaires, I'm thinking that he's got good upgrades on his cavalry. I see his archers got 6 upgrades, so they're just Gold Shield, Gold Attack. Okay, so as he said, 10 infantry, 4 archers, and I see he's got 5 heavy cavalry and a chariot unit. Let's have a look at the upgrades on his cavalry. Okay, you can see there that he has fully upgraded those cataphracts. Okay, so those are the tanks of the ancient world, and he's fully upgraded them. So that's 3 experience stripes, Gold Shield, Gold Attack. There's a close-up, and that's what we call them the tanks of the ancient world, is because they're armoured from head to toe. Just to give you some specifications here, with those fully upgraded units, that gives them an attack of 13, a massive defense of 29, and they've got a charge of 9. Praetorian cavalry with a stripe, Gold Shield, Gold Attack in comparison have got an attack of 15, only 26 defense, and only a charge of 6. Okay, so bearing in mind that these are fully upgraded cataphract cavalry there, that gives them a good, really good battle-winning chance there, I think. And I see he's bought a chariot unit here, but I notice he's only put 3 upgrades on. So I'm thinking that's probably 3 attack there. And as he's only bought 1 chariot unit there, I'm thinking it's probably for the fear factor. As you know, these guys have got a massive fear factor that they bring to the battlefield, and they can do a lot of damage, but they can run amok. And as we've seen in other battle videos, if they run amok, they become a menace to both friend and foe alike. In fact, they seem to be even stronger when they run amok, seem to do even more damage. So always bring a chariot unit. It's always kind of a 50-50 decision on that, because I say if they run amok, they can kill friend and foe alike. So that's an interesting Seleucid army there. As I say, bringing Silver Shield Legionnaires instead of the pikes, an unusual army build. Okay, our third teammate is myself, Spartan Commander, who has brought that old Greek city army of his again to the battlefield. As I say, I like resurrecting old armies, maybe from 12 or 13 years ago, and old formations too. Okay, so there's a team, should be a great one for you to watch. Okay, at this stage of the battle, I thought I'd do something a little bit unusual and go into a bit of history about the Spartans, weaponry, and about them in general, which I hope you'll find interesting. Okay, did you know that Spartans had to supply their own equipment? Helmets, shields, spears, swords, and it was very expensive. This kit, all this stuff they needed was very expensive, so very often generations used to pass them down to the next generation. So a young Spartan soldier stood on a battlefield facing the enemy could be wearing his grandfather's armor, helmet, using his grandfather's shield, spear and sword, which he would have, which the grandfather would have passed down to his son, and then he would pass it on to his son. So I don't know if you knew anything about that, but that's what they did. As I say, all the equipment was so expensive, they just used to pass it from generation to generation. So of course, apart from their training of no surrender and fight to the death, imagine a Spartan soldier throwing down his spear or shield and running away. That would be like kind of throwing his grandfather's and father's reputation to the ground there. Okay, the main weapon of the Spartan was a spear, and that was called the dory. Now this was 7 to 9 feet long, that's 2.1 to 2.7 meters long, and it had a bronze or iron curved leaf shaped spearhead, and this was made of a very unusual wood called cornel wood. Now this is a strong, dense wood. Now as you know, most wood floats in water, but cornel wood, if you put into water, will sink right to the bottom. That's how thick and dense that wood is. Okay, so it's very difficult to break those spears because of the density of the wood. Okay, on the other end of the spear was a thing called a saurotor, or saurotor. In Greek that means lizard killer. And you can just see one just on the end of this spear here. And as the Spartans advanced across a battlefield, as they walked over wounded enemy troops holding their spears up in the air with the spear point up, at that, they could just drop the spear bottom of the shaft onto the wounded enemy soldier there, and put in the surotor there straight into the enemy wounded there to kill him. Okay, so that's very useful thing there to use. So that's how they used to use it. Okay, their secondary weapon, okay, they had a choice of 2 swords. Okay, they could either have the Xiphos, it's spelled Xiphos, I think it's pronounced Xiphos, and this was a 12 to 18 inch straight stabbing sword. An Athenian soldier once said to a Spartan, "Why do you bring such short swords to the battlefield?" And after a short pause, a Spartan turned to him and said, it's long enough to reach your heart, which I thought was a good response. But the Spartans didn't really like the Xiphos that much. It was like kind of a secondary sword that they would choose. They preferred a sword called the kopis. Okay, now the kopis was a vicious, curved, thick hacking weapon where you literally hacked your enemy to death. It wasn't so much used as a stabbing weapon as a hacking weapon, and they would hack at the enemy there, and they seemed to enjoy using that type of weapon, because I think they were quite bloodthirsty actually. And it is said that when an enemy soldier saw the Spartans draw their kopis, it put fear into the heart of that enemy soldier, because obviously they knew how well the kopis was used by the Spartans. Okay, so as I say, the kopis was the favourite sword of the Spartans there. As I say, they like to hack their enemy to death rather than stab them. Okay, and then we're going to move on to their third item here, which is the shield. But really it's a contradictory term, this shield, because yes, it is a shield, but also it can be used as a very effective weapon. Okay, it weighed about 30 pounds, I think that's 13.6 kilograms, and it was made of wood covered in bronze with a narrow edge. And of course the Spartans used to use this sword to bludgeon enemy to death. Now even if an enemy soldier was wearing a helmet, if that shield was smashed onto the side of the head of a soldier, even wearing a helmet, it would stun him long enough for the Spartan to probably use his kopis to hack that soldier to death. Okay, and there's tales to say that very often the Spartans used to put their sword away and attack the enemy with the shield, because they liked to hear the bones and ribs cracking of the enemy soldier as they bludgeoned them with the side of the shield. So that's how they like to use a shield sometimes. Okay, so I don't know whether I'd want to be hacked to death by the kopis or bludgeoned to death by the shield there. I think probably both of those deaths would be one that you would want to avoid. But the Spartans, of course, were trained for years in use of these weapons and were very good at them. Of course, the most famous battle that the Spartans were involved in was the Battle of Thermopylae, where Leonidas led a Greek contingent of 7,000. Now that might surprise some of you, because you might just think there was 300, but no, there was a Greek contingent of 7,000. And they held for 2 days. Okay, Xerxes kept charging his army, and maybe an army of maybe 1 million men. And each time the army charged in, they were repulsed by the Greeks. He even sent his elite troops in there, the Immortals, and even they couldn't make any inroads. And on the 3rd day, a local man went to Xerxes and for gold and money told Xerxes of an old forgotten goat track that bypassed the Spartan position. Okay, Xerxes immediately dispatched 10,000 of his elite immortal troops along that track. Now Leonidas was told about these mortals coming towards him, and he told all his Greek allies to leave and go back to Greece, go back to their lands there. And they all did that except the Thespians. The 700 Thespians said they would hold the immortals coming over the goat track for as long as they could. And that's what they did. The 700 Thespians went back and engaged the 10,000 immortals. It is said, as soon as Leonidas heard them engage in those 10,000 immortals, he formed his Spartans up into a tight wedge formation, moved out of the pass into the main battle plains. He saw the mass of Persian battle line there, and he just led his wedge formation into them. Leonidas was at the head of the wedge formation. They crashed into the Persian lines, made deep inroads into those Persian lines. The Spartans using their spears overhand and underhand until their spears got broken. They then drew their swords and were fighting really effectively, making deep inroads into those battle lines. Leonidas was wounded several times and eventually was killed. The Persians grabbed his body, but the Spartans pulled his body back and retreated to a small hillock where they were promptly surrounded. They were wounded and blooded, their swords broken or blunt. Xerxes sent a general forward to ask them to hand over Leonidas' body and they could all go home to their families. Of course, the Spartans refused. This annoyed Xerxes, who then said, "I will not waste any more men on these Spartans. Bring the archers forward." The archers, the thousands of archers, moved forward and they fired their arrows in volley. And it is said that the volleys of arrows were so thick they literally blotted out the sun. And the Spartans died in the shade. And as the last Spartan fell, the 300 moved into legend. That last stand hillock was excavated in the 1970s, and thousands of Persian arrowheads were found on that last stand hillock, bearing testament to how many arrows actually rained down on those survivors there as they tried to defend Leonidas' body. Okay, and I think this game tends to try and reflect, Rome Total War tries to reflect the toughness of the Spartans, with them giving them 2 hit points, excellent morale and excellent specifications. Remember, these Spartans in real life were trained in every aspect of war from the age of 7 to 21. So these really were soldiers that were kind of super soldiers, bred for war, taught to resist pain, taught to never surrender, and fight to the death. And that's what Rome Total War tried to do by giving the specifications to these troops here. And so I thought that was quite interesting bit of history for you there. So as I say, I think I would try to avoid being bludgeoned to death by the shield, and definitely try and avoid to be being hacked to death by that coppice. But that's what the Spartans were, super soldiers, really effective with shields, spears and swords. And as I say, they fought to the death in that pass there, trying to hold the Persians back as long as they could so the Persian cavalry couldn't chase down their allies. Hope you enjoyed that bit of history. And here is the other team. We have Brotherhood member Lion Dwarf, who's bought the Rome Julii faction there. And I think he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think he's got 17 infantry there and 3 cavalry. Okay, so 17 infantry, 3 cavalry there. That's quite a good army there. I think he's bought so many infantry there to counter the Greek cities and Seleucid troops there. Okay, so say 17 infantry, 3 cavalry looks pretty good to me. Okay, his next teammate is Brotherhood member Aurelius, who has bought the Rome SBQR faction. I think he's got 11 infantry there. So 11 and 2 archers and 6 cavalry. So it's 11 infantry, I think, 2 archers and 6 cavalry there. He's only got gold shield, gold attack on his infantry, so I think he's well upgraded his cavalry there. That's where I think he spent his money. And yes, he's put 8 upgrades on his cavalry. So he's got 2 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack. Now remember, Praetorian cavalry are elite cavalry and do well with just gold shield, gold attack. But you put 2 experience stripes on them as well, and they can be extremely super cavalry there. I think he's upgraded that cavalry because he knows he's facing the Seleucid cataphract cavalry there. So that's why he's put so many upgrades on that cavalry. And their third teammate is Brotherhood member Lando, who's also bought the Rome SBQR faction. As you can see, a lot of his army is still in the woods. We might have a look at that a little bit later on. So there's the enemy team. Should be a great one for you to watch. Okay, and here is Lando's army. I think, if I counted right, he's got 14 infantry and 2 archers. Okay, 14 infantry, 2 archers. So I'm guessing he's got 4 cavalry units hiding in the woods there. Okay, so say he got 14 infantry and 2 archers, and notice he's got the wide formation there. Okay, he doesn't need a pile of shield unit there because I think he thinks he's going to be just facing all pikes and spears. Okay, that's why he hasn't got a pile of shield unit at the front there, because of that. So it'll be interesting to see how well this army does during the course of the battle. It should be a great one to watch. Okay, at this very early stage of the battle here, I just thought I'd show you how our team is formed up. If you see, our 2 Greek city armies are formed up side by side, and if you notice here, Bark has put some pile of shield units in front of our battle line there. A nice bit of teamwork there by Bark. I think he bought those silver shield units with their good defense specifications there to put in front of our units there as pile of shield units. You can see the enemy SBQR troops looking to do a left flanking action there. As we know, Lando's a very aggressive attacking player, so it should be interesting to see what happens. But there's our general setup here at the very early stage of this battle. Okay, at this still very early stage of the battle here, you can see some Julii cavalry moving out to our right flank there, and those 17 Julii infantry moving towards us, and then you can see the SBQR cavalry out to our left flank there. Okay, now remember, the only cavalry that we have is Bark's 5 fully upgraded cataphracts and his chariot unit there. So straight away you can see how outnumbered our cavalry will be if the enemy decide to strike with all their cavalry in one go. Okay, now as I say, Bark's cavalry is fully upgraded there, but he is still greatly outnumbered by the enemy cavalry there that is also very well upgraded as well, as we saw earlier. Okay, so as you can see here, Lando charging his 4 cavalry units in. Now remember, Aurelius' cavalry's got 8 upgrades on, and he'll probably look to charge as well. Right, okay, so this is going to be the cavalry battle there. Can Bark's Seleucid cavalry hold against this massive cavalry attack from the enemy? Right, see that enemy Julii cavalry kind of coming smashing into him as well. We've got SBQR cavalry charging on, bang, as they charge into his cavalry, and there's a Julii unit smashing, bang, into that Seleucid cavalry there. You can see we're bringing some Greek city units over, but it's difficult with Greek cities because you can't use the spears, because remember, friendly spears kill friendly cavalry, so we'll only be able to use our swords. There's a close-up of the SBQR troops and the Seleucid troops there. At the moment they're all fighting with their light spears. My guess is they will be alt-attacked pretty soon, where the Romans will be using their heavy swords and the cataphracts will be using their effective against armor maces. Okay, but as you can see, we're greatly outnumbered there, and as you can see, the enemy Julii here are attacking the our Seleucid allies pile of shield units that he put out in front of us there. A lot of pressure there coming in from those 17 Julii units on those Seleucid units. You've got Aurelius' infantry moving in there as well. As I say, you got Lando's infantry. Don't forget, he's always a very aggressive player there, moving round to our left flank there, probably looking to get round behind us, maybe even help his cavalry there against our Seleucid allies cavalry. Okay, my archers there all our archers there are shooting in all directions here, trying to kill as many of the enemy troops as we can. I remember targeting some of my archers onto those SBQR cavalry there, trying to cause as many casualties as I could. But as you can see here, just looking at the numbers there of SBQR cavalry and Julii cavalry against Bark's cataphract cavalry there, you can see that he's really up against it. Right, can you see they've alt-attacked now? Can you see the Roman cavalry using their heavy swords and the Seleucid cavalry using their effective against armor maces? Okay, so they've alt-attacked there. Okay, can you see we're moving our Greek city troops forward there, and some Seleucid infantry as well. But also, of course, you can see that Julii cavalry charging there, and bang, it charges in to one of those Seleucid silver shield units there, routing it immediately on impact. Remember, those Seleucid silver shield units have only got gold shield, gold attack on, and their morale's not very good. And you can see they're kind of being engulfed by enemy Julii troops there. Okay, can you see at this stage of the battle, I'm charging my Spartans forward here. I want to engage the enemy SBQR troops. Okay, I don't want to stand about. I don't want the enemy to have the initiative here. I want to attack. And if you notice here, I've attacked those forward units of those SBQR enemy troops there. Okay, you can see my Greek city's ally is moving in there as well. We're moving troops forward. They're trying to, as I say, engage the enemy SBQR troops there. So as you can see, both of our Greek city armies there are trying to maybe stay as close together as we can. We don't want to really get split up. But our Seleucid ally there, poor old Bark there, has lost a lot of his infantry already, and as we saw, he's lost most of his cavalry as well. And the those engulfing red Julii troops, remember, 17 units of them moving forward there onto our Seleucid allies. So At this stage of the battle there, you can see things maybe not looking very good for our Seleucid ally there, although he's done very good with his cavalry, holding as long as he could there against those massive odds. But as you can see here, the enemy now have seen that we're kind of going a bit defensive now at this stage of the battle. And as we said in other battle videos, the moment you go defensive, you hand the initiative to the enemy. And all we can do is react to them. So it looks like at the moment we are looking to go a little bit defensive here against the odds. As I say, most of our Seleucid allies' infantry has been taken out, and a lot of his cavalry has been taken out as well. So as you can see there, he's throwing some infantry in behind us there to protect the rear of our units. But as I say, if we go defensive here, we do hand the initiative to the enemy. You see Lando's bringing his SBQ infantry up behind us. You've got Aurelius's infantry on our flank there as well. As I say, Lion Dwarf has got 17 Julii infantry units there with all those pilers that they can throw. Okay, can you see I'm running my infantry forward now? As I say, I don't want to be passive. I don't really want to be defensive if I can help it. So I'm going to charge my units straight into those Julii units there. Okay. And just pause the game for a second. Okay, so I'm not going to hang around there. I'm going to try and grab the initiative myself, and I'm going to charge my Greek cities into those Julii units there. Now I'm going to attract a lot of pilers into my units, I know that, but I feel it's better to do that while attacking the enemy there than maybe just standing there and taking the pilers. Trying, as I say, to be a bit aggressive. As you can see there, the enemy SBQR troops are moving in. My ally there has turned his units to face the threat. And as I say, we've got 2 or 3 of our Seleucid allies' infantry units left as well. But you can see the cavalry advantage that the enemy have got there. And if they use them carefully and tactically, that could make a bit of a difference towards maybe the end of the battle. As I say, you can see I'm really pushing my Greek city unit armies forward there into those Julii units there. As I say, I've attracted a lot of pilers from those 17 units. You can still see they're still throwing pilers into me there. But as I say, I'd much prefer to attack and get hit by pilers than just stand there and get the pilers hit. You know, just so I'm being aggressive here with my Greeks. As you can see that Lion Dwarf has done a classic Roman defence and putting some of his forward units into Testudo, which makes it more difficult for the pike or spear units to kill those units there when they're in Testudo. But as you see, I'm still moving forward here. Bit concerned about my flank with those SBQR troops coming in behind me. But as you can see, my Greek city's ally is moving his troops in there to protect the rear of my troops as I advance forward into the Julii infantry. As I say, at this stage of the battle, most of our Seleucid allies' units have now been taken out. So it's kind of like a 3v2 at the moment here. I'm looking at the amount of enemy troops that the enemy have got. Remember, every one of those Roman units there, I've got loads of pilers to throw into us. You see that Julii cavalry smashing into my units, and bang, is that Julii cavalry. You can see I was just micromanaging a unit there to turn it round to face a flank there, and he charged his cavalry in and just caught that unit as it was moving. Nice tactical hit there by Lion Dwarf. As you can see, Lion Dwarf sending his Julii units in very aggressively here. Let's just pause the game for a second. So as you can see, remember the enemy are the Roman troops there, so you can just look at the numbers of Roman troops there and all the pilers that they've got ready to throw in. I think we've got 1 or maybe 2 of our Seleucid allies units that are left there. But as you can see now, my Greek city ally and myself have decided to box up. Okay, as you can see, we formed a defensive box, but just looking at all those Roman troops, as I say, with all those pilers to throw in there, we are going to be greatly outnumbered here. As I say, if they use their cavalry advantage tactically and wisely, do you know what I mean by that? Seeing like a flank of engaged spearmen or something like that, they can smash into to rout it and then pull out quickly. That's what I'm thinking here. And also, do you think that the enemy team maybe might be a good idea to pull all their troops out, reorganise, rally, rest their troops, and then look at the defensive box again? Is that something that maybe you'd think about doing, or would you just send your troops in as they are now, or just attacking here? Or do you think maybe pulling back, as I say, rallying? There's some Julii cavalry going in there, bang, straight into the flank of one of my engaged units there. Nice tactical cavalry hit there by Lion Dwarf. Really, really nice. As I say, using cavalry tactically, carefully, strategically, surgical strikes, bang, rout a unit, pull out quickly with your cavalry. Okay, that was a nice little strike there by Lion Dwarf. Okay, now, veterans watching this, how would you go about cracking this box? How do you think you would go about it? Like I say, would you pull all your team out, reorganise, rally your troops, and then go back in? Or would you just keep the pressure on here like they are doing at the moment? What do you think you would do? See that cavalry charging again, and bang! Straight again into the flank of one of my units, routed one of my units there. See Lion Dwarf there, bang, did the damage. Still pressing forward with his cavalry, and now he's going to pull them back out. Rally, okay, lock and load, get ready to pull the trigger and charge back in again. Nice surgical strikes there, using cavalry really well there. Okay, so as you can see here, the enemy are really piling in on us now. But as I say, veterans watching this, is this what you would do? Attack like this, or would you, like I say, pull your team out, rally, reorganise, think about, look at the box, think about what you're going to do, and then maybe attack? Or is this the tactics that you think is really the best thing to do? Just put pressure on right from the beginning. I just wonder what you guys would think. Be interested in your opinion on this. So you can see a lot of our forward Spartan units are starting to rout here, probably with the pile of casualties they've suffered, plus the aggressive attacking of the enemy team here. And probably as the battle goes on and we lose more and more units, you'll see the box starting to get smaller and smaller. Okay, let's just pause the game for a second to take stock of exactly what's going on. So as you can see here, a lot of the enemy Roman troops are pressing in on us. We've got fresh Roman troops still waiting to be sent in there. As I say, they got the cavalry advantage as well. And you can see we've got the Seleucid general right in the middle of our formation there, giving morale bonus. He's put him into Testudo there to protect against any missile damage at all. And I think we've got all three of our generals. We've got our allies, Greek cities general, and my own here. I've just paused the game here, as I say, to say to you, is there any different tactic that you would use if you were the Roman generals here? Just wonder what you think. You see we've got loads and loads of pilots coming into us, but remember, because of the Spartans' 2 hit points, pilots do a lot less damage to Spartans than pilots do to other units. Okay, so even though there's loads of pilots going into us and causing casualties, they won't be the same amount of casualties as what they would be with other units from other factions. Okay, so as you can see here, as I say, the Roman troops are really pushing in on us there. I'm glad to see that the enemy aren't just charging cavalry in just for the sake of it. They're kind of standing back, looking to see where a surgical hit with cavalry might just start a chain rout. Remember, if a lot of our units start to rout, that will probably start a chain rout and the whole box will collapse. Okay, now the enemy team know this with their experience there, so they're probably looking for a weak part of our formation. Now I can see a weak part in our formation, can you? New players to Rome Total War veterans, can you see a weak part possibly of our formation where the enemy might try and exploit? Have a look around that formation, see if you can see maybe a weak spot at all. I think I can. It'll be interesting to see if the enemy spots it. Okay, as you can see, more of our Greek city units are starting to rout all the time. Don't forget, we're having fire arrows shot into us by enemy archers. There's a close-up of the fighting. As I say, the enemy are really trying to force their way in there with their Roman troops there. Okay then, right, can you see that, have any of you spotted the weaker part of our formation there, where the enemy might try and hit? Okay, if you have a look around the formation there, you might see where you might think it would be weak there. Okay, can you see where the enemy cavalry are going in? They're going in there and bang, as they charge in there into our formation. Right, that part of the formation there, can you see it looks quite thin? That part there is where I'm thinking that the enemy are going to attack. It looks quite thin. We only got 2 units on the end there. If the enemy can break those 2 units, they can then get into our formation in that particular part. Can you see we've spotted that now, and we're starting to send reinforcements up there to try and reinforce that part of the battle box there, if you like. The battle box is, as I say, quite weak there, but we've managed to reinforce it. See that SPQR cavalry charging them? Bang! That cavalry charging. Now remember, those are those 8 upgraded cavalry. Look how they force their way in, really penetrating into the Greek city lines. Routed 2 of our units. Really aggressive, nice hit there by the SPQR cavalry. Now is our battle box going to break there? Are we going to break there? No. Can you see we're micromanaging units up to that end? See that other SPQR cavalry just about going to charge in, decided to pull back. So see, micromanagement here, really important here. Seeing where the boxes are weakest, trying to move units over there, but not weakening other parts of your defensive box. Micromanagement, really, really important here. And so you can see the infantry, enemy infantry really pushing in on us here. And as I say, those cavalry are doing strategic hits. Right, see that? Those 8 upgraded cavalry going in there and bang, as they smash it. See that SPQR cavalry coming in from the other side there? And bang, as they smash in there as well, straight into our Spartan lines there. really trying to, as I say, if they could get a few of our units to start routing, they could start a chain route there. Because our troops are surrounded, their morale will be quite low anyway, anyway, so if they can, as I say, start a few of our units to route, that could be a chain route there. Remember, those fire arrows are coming in on us, lowering the morale of our troops, causing casualties all the time. But as I say, the enemy really aggressively attacking our defensive formation here. As I say, if you do bring Greek cities and you go into a defensive formation, your micromanagement skills will be really tested, because part of your battle line, you'll notice, start losing troops and becoming a weak point. You've got to move troops over there without exposing other parts of your defensive box. See that SBQ artillery, and bang, as it charges in. 2 of our Spartan units just been routed there. They're really trying to push in on this particular part of our formation here. If you notice here, can you see how the Spartan, our Spartan defensive formation has got smaller as we've lost units, and we've had to kind of micromanagement and make the box a lot smaller now as the enemy are really pushing in on us. Remember, if you were the attacking force, you try and look for exposed, engaged enemy flanks there, looking for Greek city units with exposed flanks there that you might be able to hit. And remember though, when you form a defensive box, as long as you hold, there comes a time when you turn defense into attack. And if you notice here, can you see how I'm starting to move some of my Spartan units out towards the attacking enemy troops? Okay, so as I say, turning defense into attack here, as the enemy's still pressing in on us here. If you notice, as I move my troops out of the box there to attack, my ally moved a unit in to actually cover the gap that I made there to keep the defensive box as a whole. But I'm still moving forward with my Spartan units there, still wanting to take, as I say, the attack to the enemy, and turning defense into attack, as we've seen in other battle videos. See that SBQ artillery come into the flank of one of my units there as I was moving it. Nice surgical hit there by the SBQ artillery. More SBQ artillery coming in. If you notice, my general is a little bit exposed out of the forward. I'm a little bit out of that box there, but still fighting. But as you can see here, the enemy's still pushing in on us, but there's not so many enemy as there were a while ago. You can see a lot of the enemy troops have been killed now, attacking our box formation. But as you can definitely see here, our box formation has shrunk considerably from where it was. Okay, so our micromanagement there is trying to keep the box intact, but as I say, when you move units to weakened parts of the box there, you're always kind of a bit of a delicate position there, because as you turn your troops to move to another position, you show the backs to the enemy there, which of course we know that the rear is the most weakest part of units on Rome Total War. So say the enemy's still attacking in on us here, but as you can see, they're still trying to attack this one particular part of our battle line there. You can see my general there. Can you see? I think there's only only 6 men left in my general unit there, but I'm still keeping them there, still fighting. As I say, the Spartan morale is excellent. Their specifications are excellent, and of course those 2 hit points mean they suffer less damage from missiles as well. So as I say, the defensive formation's holding well. And there's a close-up of the fight in there. As you can see, trying to attack spears or pikes head-on for Roman generals is very difficult. And as I say, when you form up a box formation like this, it does make it difficult for the enemy Roman troops to break it. Okay, as I say, I've turned defense into attack now, and as you can see, I'm moving forward with my Spartan units in an aggressive attacking way against those tired enemy Roman troops. Okay, if you notice, I've upped spears. I'm running my troops forward now to engage with the enemy troops there, and then as soon as I engage with them, I'll put the spears down. But as you can see, most of the enemy troops now are starting to rout. Okay, so and there's the SPQR general and Julii general have just been routed as well there. So our team has managed to go on to win this battle there. But I was just saying, veterans watching this or newer players, did you see any different tactics that you might have employed during that attack? Just to show you the piles of enemy dead surrounding that defensive box of ours, especially those cavalry hits coming in there. They could have triggered a mass rout there, but luckily we managed to hold. So very pleased with that. I see there's just an SPQR enemy general left there. So I should imagine that, and I can see our Seleucid general ally still alive as well. So that's good news. We managed to hold there against all those Roman troops there. Okay, as I say, just that enemy SBQR general left, I think, and I think most of the enemy troops are now dead, I think. And I think the last general was just a bit good. Can you see that where we held that defense? Just have a look at the intensity of the fighting there. You can see the piles of dead. Okay, so as you can see, I'm surprised to see it was an average victory. I thought it probably would have been a close victory there, bearing in mind how many casualties we suffered there. Just like draw your attention to RV Gorgira, or I think Constantine the Great there, with his army. He's only 7 off of 2,000 kills in a 3v3 with Roman units, with just 81-man enemy unit. So really well done to him. Barak probably didn't get the kills that he wanted to, but he played a crucial battle there, defending us with his cavalry and moving his infantry units around, his pilot shield units, to soak up some pilots that stopped our Spartans taking them. Really well done to Lion Dwarf, Aurelius and Lando. I think they got quite good kills there. Nice aggressive attacking tactics by you guys, so really well done to you. But as I say, well done to Bark Gorgira. Really well played, guys. Nice defence there. But also, as I say, really well done to Brotherhood member Lion Dwarf, Aurelius and Lando. Nice aggressive attacking there. And I hope you enjoyed the history about the Spartans and their weaponry. I hope it wasn't too boring for you. Spartan Commander saying bye for now.